All right. What's up, Zach? Welcome back to the channel, dude.
Dude, so good to be back. It feels like we're doing this on a monthly basis at this point.
Yeah, you're going so quick, man. And now you've got the sick PTBI neon sign behind you. You've gotten a haircut since our last call, so the setup's looking like a lot clear. I think last time we did this, you were at like your parents' place visiting your family or something, right?
Yeah, so the last interview we did was over the summer. I think it was in July. And it's crazy. We were hitting about 50K a month at that point. My goal was to hit 100K a month. And I did not expect literally the next month, or as it go, June, July, August. Yeah, literally the next month, over doubling it. And
Yeah,
lots of things have changed since then. It's kind of crazy. I got a new spot. I got my own office now. I got my sign up. I got this sexy little microphone stand, cut my hair. So life is growing. We're entering a new stage of life, and I honestly couldn't be more excited.
I love it, dude. I love it. Well, it's super cool, man. Even in the last interview, the 0 to 50,000. Now I can say I don't know, the title is to be like 0 to 50 to 100. I don't know. And even just for, transparency, like the business does it swings, sometimes it'll do 60. Like when I first did my first 6-figure month, we dropped back down to 60 the next month and I had to catch back up. But as of August, you had your first 6-figure month, which is incredible. And I just wanted to, on this interview, talk about that journey. And I honestly feel like we should start with what changed from 50 to 100 as opposed to doing 0 to here, because I feel like people can go watch our other interview
Mhm.
and get like the full story. But like, very forward question for me, difference between 50 and 100 for your business. Like what were the changes that you implemented? What did you kind of take away and put into the business? Kind of walk the viewer through, what happened.
Absolutely. And so I will say that there was a significant change that happened that took me from 50 to 100K.
Mm.
And it wasn't anything to do with the strategy. It had nothing to do with, what we were doing for like lead generation or anything like that. The only thing that changed is I started to pay more attention to my team. Right. That was the only thing that changed. Whereas before, when I was doing 50K a month, I was letting them do their thing, but I was still very much doing like my part in the business. So I was generating my own leads. I was taking my own sales calls. And by the end of the day, I really had no clue what the heck my team was doing. I was just hoping that they were doing a good job. And as long as I saw calls on the calendar, I was like, okay, well, at least this calls being booked and deals are being closed, but I wasn't really tracking what they were doing on a daily basis. I also wasn't really like paying attention to their skills. Right. And so in August, what I started doing is I started really paying attention to my team less. And I actually removed myself more so from the daily minutia of like generating my own leads and taking my own sales calls and doing that kind of stuff. And I started spending more time like actually reviewing conversations with my outbound team, reviewing the discovery calls with my outbound team, also reviewing sales calls with my sales team, and really making sure that they were getting attention and that they were executing and that we were all in sync. And
Mm.
so doing so, I was able to have a much better, clearer picture on like what they were doing on a daily basis. And we just operated as a team so much better. The communication was much higher. And with that, our closing rate actually went up because I was able to see and get really in sync with what my closers were doing on the call. We did hire a second closer this month, by the way, but he didn't have anything to do with, the 6-figure month. Um, but I'm able to like really see, okay, how are they closing? Where can they improve? Same thing with my VAs who are doing outbound, like how are the conversations looking? Where can they improve? And so their numbers went up. And then just by happenstance, like you mentioned, what happens in business is you get like sun flares, what I call like months that are sun flares where like things just go like crazy. I
Mm-hmm.
do think that a little bit of that was contributed to the 6-figure month in August, where it was just like a crazy month where all the stars aligned perfectly. We had
Mm-hmm.
a ton of paid in fulls. We had a ton of leads that carried over from July that closed in August. And so it was just like a month where everything lined up perfectly. And we just hit like this huge month and it was awesome and we celebrated it. But where I'm at now is like I've seen in business that months will fluctuate from high to low, high to low, high to low. So like while I hit that 6-figure month, I was like, okay, enjoy it, take a time, like take a second to like really celebrate the success. But at the same time, September 1st is coming around and we start from zero all over again. And
Yeah.
I can't expect the same thing to happen over and over and over again. It's a brand new game.
Yep.
And so
Yep.
recently what we did is I personally took a step back from focusing on revenue and I'm spending more time on my personal life. I took some trips. I got really sick. So I had to focus on taking a step back from my health. We moved, me and my girlfriend moved. And then so my time now is more focused just on planning out the next steps for PTBI. We are going to be making a couple moves here in the next 3 months. And I'm excited to be finally settled into like a new spot so we can really focus on being home and like hammering in some new record-breaking months. But that was kind of like how we went from 50 to 100K is really just like one, there's a little bit of luck in there, which, you know, I think happens to everybody, but we all get our fair share of luck every now and then. And then the second thing is really just focusing on my team and really helping my team and showing up for my team rather than trying to get in there and do everything myself.
It's good. So it really seems like the main thing for you is like attention with the team, meaning helping the team understand how you would be playing their role if you were them, like really
Exactly.
getting them sharpened. Yeah, I understand that. Like, did you start implementing daily team meetings?
So we started implementing weekly team meetings, and we haven't done daily just yet, but Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 9 a.m. is when we do our team meetings. So like Mondays, what we do is we just make sure like everyone's on the same page. All the leads in the CRM are where they're supposed to be. Everyone's got their assigned leads. I know exactly who's got calls on what day. And then that meeting takes about 15 minutes. And then what we do is we break. And my closers will go off and take their calls, and I'll actually stay on with my virtual assistants. And I'll go, okay, let's look at the conversations that you're having in the DMs. Let's look at the conversations that you're having in the CRM. And let's see where we can improve these conversations so we can get more calls booked on the calendar. Right. And then Wednesday, I actually do the same thing on Wednesday, because for me, the most important thing is getting calls booked on the calendar. So I'd rather spend more time with my outbound team to make sure that we're getting calls booked. And then on Fridays, what I do is I stay on with my closers and we'll review one of the calls for that week to see, okay, where can we improve? What could have been done different? And just making sure that like no leads fall through the cracks.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's good. So it really is like a lot of the focus on your team meetings is just diving into the prospecting, which is good. And, you know, like when I made that shift too, and we actually do daily now too, man. I mean, it's been huge. I couldn't tell you how incredible. It's just every day at noon, we hop on for a half hour. Even if we don't think there's anything to talk about, there always is. You know what I mean? There's always something. And so it keeps the ball rolling so much quicker. And then as leader too, it's nice because like I've been able to just not be on the meetings and they just run themselves too. Like when I can't be there, I don't be there, you know? But they know what to do because I've just spent so much intimate time with them and gotten them up to speed. And obviously I couldn't go 2 weeks not being on the meeting, but if I have to go a day or I can't make it, it's really cool. It's like the whole thing just runs itself. So yeah, dude, it really is like, so 0 to 50 was identifying offer. It was, you know, understanding the basics of marketing, the KPI driven processes, getting good at sales, building a good customer experience. And then 50 to 100, it really just sounds like it was more focused on the team and the internal structures of the business. And like I said, you know, kind of making your team act as if they were you in their role.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. And I also think that I think like with every milestone in business, time does have a factor, right? I don't think many business owners or business, you know, leaders will talk about this, but I do think that there's no way that I would have hit 100K a month in my first 6 months, right? It had to be a year, right? And my next goal is obviously 250K a month. And I know for a fact that time is a variable in that journey. And so I'm giving myself a full year to do so. So not only was it just the internal systems and focusing on the team, but I do think that you need enough time in the marketplace to build goodwill for your name to be out there, to build a good reputation, for you to get results, for you to get testimonials. Like the reason why we were able to hit 100K a month is because we had a lot of 5K paid in fulls. And do you realize like what you need to have in place in order for a total stranger to give you $5,000 off the bat, right? You need to have a lot of really goodwill. You need to have a lot of good reputation. You need to have, you know, good testimonials, and you just need to be, you know, respected in the marketplace enough for people to trust you. And that takes a lot of time, right? So I do think the difference between 50 to 100K is we just hit that time threshold to where people saw us and identified us as like super legit and that we can help them because we had so many results. So I do think that that was a factor, and that plays more so in for, you know, business owners that are just starting out. like it does take time to build goodwill in the marketplace. And that's essentially a variable that I don't think is talked about enough. But I think for us is like, we just hit that threshold. And next year, when our goal is 250K a month, I'm pretty damn conservative with my predictions. I really do think that there's nothing that's going to change other than increasing our prices, maybe adding in a different offer. But from 100 to 250K a month with those small changes, it's just going to be a matter of time, right? Just more people hearing about us, maybe increasing ad spend, but like the actual system stay in place. It's just increasing the volume and like hitting that threshold. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. So it's like and I completely agree. There's just some things you can't speed up, like you have to build trust, and trust takes time and consistency. And, sometimes like how I see it is like I build a certain amount of trust and authority in the market, but that's just like money waiting to happen. So it's like, I see it as like there's a certain amount of money in the bank right now. But then there's also like, I personally would say my pipeline is worth maybe like 2.5 million total of like everybody that knows who we are and like, is considering paying us money but hasn't yet. It's like, honestly, I would say it's at least worth it because I know that just by means of the amount of people that like maybe it's a viewer right now who's skimming our YouTube channel and they'll book a call with us and they end up being a great fit for our program. And they're like, yeah, I've watched you for 8 months, like we have some of that, but we also, Zach, we've got people who literally like 2 days ago, I found a guy on LinkedIn, found me within 24 hours, booked a call, paid in full for, our highest tier offer. And so it's like, I completely agree that trust is one of those variables, but that high tier offer wouldn't have happened if I didn't have previously established, reputation, and I couldn't reference people that I'd served and show my screen and talk about what's happened because of what we do. So yeah, it sounds like testimonials. Like, it seems like that's a big thing for you. Like you want to generate 3, 4, 5 really big testimonials between now and then too that you can market. Am I correct?
Yeah, dude, I try to shoot for a testimonial every single week. Like that's the volume of like testimonials that I'm shooting for, is like I need to get a testimonial every single week, because when people see, like, people don't even need to watch the testimonials, but the fact that they see that you have so many, they're like, all right, I'm convinced. Right. Yeah. And what I find is like when you're just getting started in business, that first 0 to 50K, it takes a longer time for you to build trust and relationship with the prospects that you're working with. Like, it might take you, 2 to 3 weeks to really convert that client to become a paying client. Whereas when you're at that year mark in your business, or that 2-year mark, you can indoctrinate someone within a 24-hour period and get them on board. And when you're doing that, you could just get people in, so much faster. And that's when like things really start to grow exponentially, is like your indoctrination sequence from the second you are introduced to the person to the moment they close, this becomes much faster and faster and faster, because you have so much social proof that doesn't require you to spend one-on-one time with that person. They can consume your content, they can see your testimonials, they can see all the content that you put out there and all the goodwill to see like, okay, this person is trustworthy and it is super legit. And so that does have a factor. Once the volume comes in, not only the volume comes in, but like the speed in which the volume converts is much faster.
Yep. Totally, dude. Well, it's cool, man. Like just thinking all the way back to when you initially worked with me when you were just getting started forever ago. I mean, it's like literally, I think back then you were saying, oh, I want to get to like, you were like 10,000 a month was your number, and it was with your business at the time. And it's just cool, man. You're a really cool longitudinal case study for me of what it looks like to get to the 6-figure a month level properly and follow some of the core things that we teach our clients well. Like even like one of the things I wanted to bring up is PTBI on your wall. You've got it in LED, which is something I want to do actually, in LED on your wall. We talk to like in our community, I always say like make your offer an identity. It can't be something you just sell online. Like you have to honestly like integrate it into your life, and like to the point where like right now, like I've got a friend of mine who's considering joining. Like, and I saw that when I visited you in LA, I was like, man, your whole network out here is just kind of, you've kind of got this network of people that are aware of your offer and interested in it. And it's just integrating into your life in this intimate way. And I think that is another thing that I don't think we pointed out in a previous interview that I felt the need to point out now, because, I always talk about how, in Hebrew, like your last name would typically represent your line of work, right? It's like Smith or whatever, like, black,
Interesting.
yeah. And so nowadays we've got last names just based off of like lineage, but that's not actually how it was originally. Like originally you literally were named after the way that you served other people. And so it's cool that whenever somebody embodies that, like you, Zach, or like a client embodies that, like yourself, and you make it an identity, it just goes so much further, you know.
Mhm.
And I think there's some unspoken value there too that I don't think a lot of, people hit. It's not a very technical thing. It's honestly, it's a very mindset oriented thing. But I literally think Zach, and the next thing I think is PTBI, because
Dude,
it's just an identity, you know.
it's so funny that you say that because this thought happens to me. Like I have this thought all the time. Since I've started business coaching and I stepped away from fitness coaching, my identity online has shifted. And since then, I've lost about 5,000 followers from the moment I was, posting shirtless pictures fitness coaching to then posting business. And I think the reason why is because I'm extremely one-dimensional online, right? I don't really share a lot of my personal life. I don't really share a lot of like my political beliefs or like religious beliefs or like my internal beliefs. I'm all in PTBI and that's all it is. And all I am online and all I ever think about is PTBI, PTBI, PTBI. And so it's always testimonials, client results, advice. It's just like extremely one dimensional. So like I've pretty much parted ways with the fact like, hey, I might be losing followers. That's totally fine. But like I've fully embodied the PTBI spirit and the PTBI, identity. And I do think it shows in my like closing calls and in my follow-up process, because I even said this to a girl the other day. Let me read you the message I sent to her.
Yeah.
Because this is the mindset that I take and approach with every single person that I am on the phone with. I said to her, I would, just do my closing thing. What's the worst case scenario that's going to happen if you join, blah, blah, blah. She says, oh, you're really good at this. No big deal. I sent her a podcast. And I said, hey, just so you know, take everything with a grain of salt because we are 100% trying to get you to join this program simply because we believe it is the absolute best thing that you can do for your freedom, for your business, and for your life. Right. And so that is the level of conviction that I approach every single person with. It's like, I don't care if it's your last dollar. Obviously, I don't want you to be put into a financial situation that's going to, be risky, but like, I fully 100% believe that this is the absolute best thing that you can do for your life.
Mm.
Right. And so everything I do is PTBI. And like you mentioned, it's like, it's very wrapped into my identity. Maybe I'll get a tattoo. I don't know, but
Yeah.
yeah, I do think it is an unspoken thing that not a lot of people fully embody. When people start their fitness coaching business, for example, that we see in PTBI, it's like, yes, they're a fitness coach, but they're still very much who they used to be, right? They still post like a lot of personal stuff, which you should online. You should be very personal. I think one thing that I really like about your presence online is that you're very personal, but you are seen as a business entrepreneur, and it is part of your identity online. And like, yeah, I just think it's huge, man. So I think the point you made is absolutely correct. I don't think it's spoken about enough, but it is absolutely a variable that comes into play with the success that we've had with the 100K month.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. There's no way I could have scaled to 100 or 200 per month like without making it a not just an offer I sell online, but honestly like a lifestyle and a way of and an identity. As opposed,
It's an obsession, honestly.
it is. Yeah, I think about it all the time, and it's like it never leaves, and but I love it. So it's like
Mhm.
it's not like, oh, I can't stop thinking and it's like torturing. It's like, no, like I want to be thinking about it constantly, and it's like that's when you honestly when you feel that way about your offer. If you're listening to this right now, like odds are, or your offer, or your business, or just entrepreneurship in general, like odds are you're gonna succeed. Like if you love it, it's gonna love you back. You know, it's the incredible thing about this.
Well, yeah, and not only that, but when you believe in what your offer stands for and represents, like you're gonna show up to whatever battle, like sales call, with so much conviction that you are going to influence the other person to believe in you. Right? A lot of people like they think they know what's best for them, but if someone shows up with more conviction and more belief, they're going to be easily influenced because people are misguided and they are, they're lost most of the time. And so if you show up and be like, hey, I know the way and I'm not going to let you off this call because I know that I can help you, you are going to win every single time. And that only comes from like truly embodying the identity of your business.
Yeah, that's super good. That's great advice. I really honestly wish I would have been told that at the beginning because for me, um, it's weird. I felt the need to find the right thing, then make it an identity. But honestly, like I found like once I found something that was good enough, then finding a way to fall in love with it was the next.
Mhm.
Not finding something I love and then, but finding something that got results, that generated revenue, that could scale, that I didn't like hate. It's like honestly, then I learned how to love it. I
Mhm.
learned how to love it very consciously. So yeah, dude, I'm super inspired. I love telling people about your story. I think, I reference you a lot and people, follow you because of it. And so keep doing what you're doing, man. I'm super impressed and I'm just happy to call you a friend, dude. So, uh,
Thank you, man. I really, really appreciate it, brother. I really
yeah,
appreciate it.
absolutely. Any pieces of advice on your end to like the 5 to 15K a monther that, wants to see this level of business? Like what would you give them? Because I feel like we ended our last interview with that. And I'm curious, maybe your answer will be the same instinctually, maybe it will be different, but that's
Yeah.
yeah, I always ended.
What was the piece of advice I gave in the last one? I
I
don't
don't
exactly
I don't want to
remember.
say because I want to hear what you say this time.
Okay. So if someone's just getting started and focusing on that 10 to 15K mark, 15K per month mark.
If they're at that level and they're ready to scale, I guess would be a right way to put it. Or if they're a beginner, honestly, like that whole range.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is with 0 to 15K per month, what I would say is focus less so much about making money and focus more so on helping people and really serving the hell out of your audience. Also, just putting out goodwill, good content, and like giving first, and then the money will return. I think with everything that I did in business, it was always me giving first, and then the money came later. When I was fitness coaching and I was just getting started with my business, I was taking on a lot of clients for free. I was taking on a lot of clients for very, very little because I knew that they actually had more to offer me than I did for them. And they were doing me a bigger favor by giving me a shot. And so I worked with a lot of people for free to just prove to myself and to other people that like I can actually do this and I can get people results and I'm like helping people.
Hmm.
And then 6 months later, I was able to charge whatever the hell I wanted because I gave so much on the front end and that people, that reciprocity came back.
Hmm.
And then the same thing happened when I started business coaching as well. My first sale for PTBI was $500. And it's essentially free when you're getting business mentorship to start your business. That's essentially free. And so it was just me helping people and really just getting feedback and improving. And, if you're just getting started and you need to work a 9 to 5 to pay the bills while you are getting feedback, that is going to be much better than trying to start a business to make money without focusing first on how you can create the best impact on people, how you can create the best service, how you can, get feedback to reiterate your process and your business. And then once everything is dialed in, you have the testimonials and people are starting to come to you, then you can start to ramp things up. You can raise the prices, you can go full time. And then once you hit that 10 to 15K mark, that's when you start to scale, right? I really don't think that you can get past like the 15 to 20K mark like without a team.
Yep.
You have to get into the scaling mindset of outsourcing. I think that was something that held me back for a very, very long time. And it burnt me out because I was scared to outsource. I was scared to hire, but I had no problem putting fucking 10K in Bitcoin. But I had, all these limiting beliefs about like hiring people. And I think the biggest difference between 50 to 100K is like when I was at the 20, 30, 40, 50K mark, I was putting a lot of money into like retirement or into investing, but I wasn't putting any money into my business.
Hmm.
But there was a moment where crypto crashed earlier this year. I think it was around like the May time. And I realized like, how stupid is it for me to put all this money into something that's not giving me any return today when I could put all this money into my business, hire more people, train more people, join more masterminds, and so anyone who's at that 10 to 15K mark, you do have to scale. Like you have to scale with employees. You have to put time and energy and effort into your employees. And they're the only ones that are going to take you past that 50K mark.
Hmm. It's good. It's good input, dude. It's great advice, and I completely agree with it. Yeah, that's what my journey looked like. It was very similar. I mean, I got to 15, 20 alone, and then I just had to get help.
Yep.
And not only did I have to get help in the form of team, but I had to get help in terms of like that's when I started spending like real money on like getting advanced help, like coaches and masterminds. Like I threw 30 grand at this thing, and like I went crazy with it, and that was when I saw the most growth. And funny that I'm saying that. I'm going back into a season now where I'm stacking some cash on the side so I can make some more investments like that because I want to be growing further, and I just want to be a great student. You know what I mean? Uh,
Absolutely.
so yeah, dude. Thanks again, dude. Love the interviews, and if you guys, haven't already watched Zach's first interview, go check it out where we just kind of talked about how we got to 50,000. And I think it's an incredible thing. And he found an offer that works for him, and he fell in love with it, and then scaled it just with numbers and a good team and a great client experience. And that's at the end of the day, that is the formula for the business model. I don't see anybody that focuses on client experience, that knows their numbers and their marketing, and has high standards of behavior for themselves that don't make it to 1 million a year. Honestly, I mean, it really is that way. So hopefully Zach's inspiring for you guys. And thanks again, brother. We'll speak again soon.
Of course, man.
Sweet.